Hello everyone, my name is Hector Matthys and we're at the St. Louis Toy Show in 2011. A couple projects I built this year were an STX 430, one of the older decals, and another one is a John Deere 9220, which we'll see in a second. The 430 started out as a original casting Steiger with the right-hand exhaust. I made some key modifications to this tractor to make it look like the 430. First was making the left-hand exhaust. Took the original exhaust members, reworked them, and modified them excuse me, to match the left-hand exhaust features. Also put in the screens into the engine area that became standard at that time. Speaking of the screens, I also added the oil dipstick access hole in that side. On both sides in the front, you can see the toolbox steps that were available on these Steigers. You can see in this area all the steps and body paneling were rebuilt from scratch to better simulate what was on the actual tractor. The articulation joint on this tractor was completely rebuilt out of styrene to have the accurate tri-point oscillation of a Steiger tractor. This tractor is a bareback model with just hydraulics, no PTO or 3-point. It has the safety light bar and slow moving vehicle symbol. Cab's been detailed with handrails all around, mirrors. Also added or redid the steps on the other side of the tractor. The original casting, like the original tractor that it represented, had 4 steps in this area, but on the newer ones they moved to 3 steps. Added handrails in that area and added the non-slip stepping where the muffler used to be. Lastly, to top off the tractor, outfitted it with 12 tires from a Puma and used some custom rims on the outside to get that flat dish look and give it a lot of meaty rubber to get some tillage done.
Well, we can really see the difference here when you look at the stock model, especially on the steps.
I was pretty impressed with what Ertl did on this 435 model. They did capture some pretty good detail on the differences between the earlier Steigers and what was different on this casting. But there are limits to what you can do in a mass production environment.
Looks good. Looks very good. I guess we'll take a look at the Deere here.
The other tractor we're looking at this year is a John Deere 9220. That's one of the smaller chassis John Deeres, and I guess not so much the chassis, but the hood specifically is smaller, so it's narrower, and it's actually just narrower at the front. It's the same width back at the cab, so I took off the original hood and narrowed it up properly. Another key feature of this build was I moved to I guess you could call it a 30 series cab, but the late 20 series had a different cab on them, so I used that cab. Also, the late 20 series had a difference in the grills that were right back in here covering up the radiator fan. For reference, I have another 9100 model that I built a few years back, and you can see the difference in how this grill sits at an angle, and it's actually more out at the hood level, whereas this is tucked back in a little bit more. You can see on the front I added the rock box on this model. Another key difference between the older 9000 series and this later one is that they've changed the position of the fuel fill from being back here to up towards the front here, and because of that the shape of the fuel tank in this area has changed. They've also changed access to the cab. The newer ones have 5 steps, I guess, and the older ones are 4. And you can see some differences in the handrails, how this one is a 2-piece handrail on your right side when you walk up, where this is a continuous handrail. And they've changed some of the handrails from being green to black.
It's a lot of detail to keep up with.
You can also see a few differences in these models where just picked up some things on the second build that I did on the first one, or whatever you want to say. Forgot to add the hood seam back in on that first one to have that little bit of a crease, and the row guide, or whatever you want to call that, at the end.
Take a break before I get burned out.
Another thing is I missed putting this step on the fuel tank on the first one.
You're around to it, I'd love to.
Another thing I didn't do on the first one was indent this area for the slow moving vehicle sign, which is actually not on this tractor, obviously, but I have some plans to do some 3-point work here if I can find the right parts. And on this tractor, when you had a 3-point on it, the slow moving vehicle sign was mounted off of that. So that's the plan there.
Looks good. It looks like you got set up for triples.
Yep. You can see there's some extension hubs that are on this tractor, and with a little bit of tender loving care, the tractor can be tripled up.
Must be set up for working in Minnesota and narrow rows, or?
Yeah, this is 20-inch spacing. The wheels are, I guess you could call a standard John Deere 8000 series wheel, like that. That's been stretched over a custom rim to simulate a 54-inch tire. They come out to be about a 380 or so in width. They're a touch wide yet, but not too bad. After you stretch them out, they narrow a little bit. And I've also done the inner wheels to be the heavy cast center like you typically would find.
Very, very nice.
Thank you. So those are a couple tractors that I've worked on this year. Thanks for taking the time to check them out, and have a good year.
We appreciate it. Hope to see you in 2012. Thanks, Hector.